wish more people were here.
Janet Bean deserves to be a household name, and not just because it's funny. She's been involved one way or another with some of the most interesting music to come out in the last 20, 30 years. And we're going to talk about just a fraction of it. The summer between high school and college, I heard this song that was on a mixtape that someone else had made for a friend of mine. And I was pretty much obsessed with this song for years. It was kind of a mystery in my life because this was pre-internet, and all you could do was just ask people if they'd ever heard the melody or the lyrics, or just wait for it to come on like in someone's car or at a party or something, because it wasn't exactly radio music either. A few years go by and I'm sitting in a car waiting to play a show at Jack of the Wood in Asheville. And I'm sitting with the bass player. He had just moved to town from Chicago. It's like, all right, you're next. I'll ask you. There's this group. It's two women and a bass player. And they have this great song. It's something like, "My old drunk friend.
My old drunk friend.
It's good to see you again."
It's good to see you again.
He gives me a sideways glance and laughs. He said, that's Janet Bean and Catherine Irwin. And I'm in that band. That band is Freakwater. The bass player was and is David Wayne Gay, a silent assassin and Heart of Darkness. I ended up playing on a Freakwater record, their last one, toured the world with them. It was a dream come true. Today I talked to Janet Beveridge Bean. That's all I got to do, but I got to do it.
I am Janet Beveridge Bean, and musically speaking, I played in a lot of different bands, but the two main bands throughout my life since I was about 17 years old have been Levin's Dream Day, in which I am the drummer and one of the songwriters, and Freakwater, play stringed instruments, and I'm also one of the songwriters. Yeah. Also, there's a band, a couple of records, and that was with Jim Elkington, who is an amazing guitarist. And then I put out a couple records with Mind Over Mirrors, in which I played auto harp and harmonium and congas and gongs and various things. And then the Freakons, which is a sort of smash up of our friends, the Mekons and Freakwater. So it's this side of the pond, Mekons and Freakwater, some Freakwater. We had just one record under that name, and we made it. I think we made it before COVID. I can't even remember. It didn't come out until after COVID, I think, but. It had songs that were all sort of focused on coal mining, because Jon Langford of the Mekons, he's from Wales, and Catherine is from Louisville, Kentucky, and I lived there for an important part of my life. And there's tale of a seam of coal that runs from across the Atlantic all the way through to Appalachia from John's neck of the woods.
I love the song Canaries. Is that the name of it? It's devastating.
Yeah, Canary. That's a great song.
Yeah. That's just
there's some great songs on that record. It's a good record. Got very little play. Obviously, it didn't get We played some shows, and then it was the whole COVID kind of thing, and I think shows just were not what people were doing, and it sort of just fell away.
Are you currently gigging on a regular basis, like at bars?
No. I get asked to do things. I get asked to come sing different shows, or they need. I don't know why anyone would need something like me, but I'll get called to do some sort of singing, and then I do some solo shows, not often, but I'm supposed to be doing one soon, I think. I need to tell them the date. I was asked by a local venue to do something, and so I asked Pieta Brown if she would join me, and so she's going to come down and play a show. So we're going to do that in late spring, I think. We'll see.
Mm.
But no, I don't play regularly. I'm sort of in a odd space of writing some material, but I'm taking Matt, who you know, he is a poet and he writes these sort of like three-line poems together and creating songs out of them. And I put together a few of his.
I lost you when you what was the name of the poet again?
My son, Matt.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know Matt very
Matt
well.
Rizzo,
Yeah.
Matt Bean Rizzo. But yeah, I take his poems and then I write these little sort of, I don't know, they're kind of fun to put together and put
Hmm.
into music. And so I've been doing that and with the idea that I would put together a record of that.
And would you play that live, or is it a is it the kind of thing
Sure,
you would
yeah.
perform, go out and perform? Yeah. I
I
just
would. I will. I haven't yet.
yeah, yeah. What these days puts you on stage from a comfortable house? Why go out and do it? When you can record and get your jollies that way. I realize it's two different things. It's to me, it's painting or photography, but it's hard going and hanging out in a bar all night.
Sure,
The stage part is
sure.
the fun part. The rest is kind of a grind.
I think with 11th Dream Day, it's always just, it's so joyful. It really is just a joyful experience. And I love the the performance, the aspect of playing with them. I just love it. I love hanging out in the backstage with them, just making jokes and having a really good time. I mean, there is nothing that's sort of a slog about that. I'm 60, I just turned 62. So I've been doing this professionally since I was like 17. And I don't think, especially when it was related to Freakwater or things that were my own, there was always a certain sense of dread. There was dread baked into everything. And,
Yeah.
Catherine and I would always joke about, well, when we were offered a show and it was an advance, we'd be like, well, we'll get hit by a bus before then. It was sort of like, maybe that won't have to happen because there was just this sort of terror of it. And I think, in some part, that's why Freakwater stopped playing a lot after COVID is because we had that long period of not performing and really being able to understand the stress of that anxiety, and unhealthy ways that one may cope with that or something, and not wanting to do that. So
Yeah.
I think,
Well, I was gonna say that's I'd kind of forgotten that. I can't remember which one of y'all said it. How the idea of the humiliation of being on stage and singing. Like I hadn't thought about that. It's like it's both funny and like I know exactly what whoever said it is talking was talking. I was
I
like,
think it was probably me. Some people are just as happy or feel just as lucky to go into a gig that's in the back of a fucking laundromat and play and just feel really thankful. And I would be like, oh my God, I'm playing in the back of a fucking laundromat and a bunch of people that'd rather be at Bennigan's than here.
yeah.
Some of those people would rather be at Bennigan's and, just like the humiliation of that and feeling like I feel like Carny. I feel like a Carny and I don't want to be a Carny, I went through a lot of that, like just feeling out of sync with what it was. That doesn't
Mhm.
happen at all anymore. I feel absolutely so lucky to get to do any of it. And I don't take any of it for granted. And I don't really want to go back and play the laundromat again, but everything that I get to do now, I love. I do still have anxiety. Like when I was asked to go play a solo show, this was like maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I hadn't played like a solo Janet show since like 2004, maybe. And I was like, that's insane. But I have this sort of motto or this thing that I tell myself is just always say yes, just say yes. Because if I realize how easy it is to say no, I'll just start saying no all the time. So I just say yes to things,
Mhm.
whatever that may be, the things that make me feel uncomfortable, not morally uncomfortable, but just the things that make me feel sort of like test my anxiety and my fragile ego a bit. So I'm like, yeah, yes, I'll do that. And it was great. And I try to say yes. And then I practice an absurd amount with seemingly little change in in ability. But I get through it all, and and it's such a good feeling, and I love it. So I don't, the mental health aspect of it, since 1991, I've been a mother. So I've never, like, so that has always been sort of my focus, I suppose. And it's always put the, the whole thing of music in a different perspective to me. It wasn't the, it was an important part of who I was, but it was sort of like this extra kind of fun thing that I got to do. It wasn't my real role in life was to be a mother to Matthew because he had a rare medical condition that required an extensive amount of attention. So I think in some ways that's been a way that I've been able to play music forever is because it's just like an added bonus to my life. It wasn't the thing that I had to do to make things work out. I already had something, and that was to be a mom kind of thing to a special needs child.
Mhm. Can't help but think that a lot of you've done a lot of really cool things, and I can't help but think that a lot of that is you don't seem to place that like what you're just saying, you don't place the same amount of importance on it that other people might because you've got something more important all the time. So there's a kind of lightheartedness to it, whereas it's like if this stops tomorrow, I will miss it, but it's not
Yeah,
it's never going to be an albatross
right, right.
or something you're going to stress too much over.
I try not to, and I just, like I said, I try to say yes to things. So when I was asked to do Mind Over Mirrors, which was a really different type of project for me, and it was this sort of like this drone music, and I was asked to take a book by this gentleman, my last name is Beston, and it's called The Outermost House. And in the early 1900s, he lived at the very end of the Cape, and he wrote about his experience there over a period of living there over a year or so. And so I was supposed to write these sort of naturalist words that were based on this book. And so, that was like, well, that's absolutely out of like the realm of where I write, but it was so exciting to just try to be something else other than what I am
Mhm.
musically, and learn to sing differently um, yeah, and
Sometimes
just
getting
perform visually differently. I perform that with like a giant silver hairdo and crazy makeup and huge white eyelashes and like this. I was like a ice goddess.
the
Hmm.
humiliation level goes way down if I'm in full cape, sunglasses, hat, and like the full thing going on. Then it's easy. I can talk. I can dance on
Yeah,
stage. Otherwise, if it's me in a t-shirt and
yeah,
torn jeans or something, and it's just singing your heart out, I was like, this is not right. Animals were not supposed to do this on an existential level.
yeah. It's so fucking vulnerable. It's
Mhm.
just so
And
vulnerable
the
to do that.
sincerity of it all.
Yeah.
It is, and it's not what I initially got into it for was to like sing my diary or anything like that. It was just purely like life improvement. until you learn to communicate, and music has turned into something else as it evolves. And I try to keep it from being so important. And it's kind of a paradox because it is so important, but it's there's an Alan Watts quote, we take seriously what the gods meant for fun. And that to me, that quote speaks to me in my relationship to music, and that don't be so kind of precious with it. And sure enough, there's a kind of a positivity that grows with that attitude, in that it's all for fun. So like you were saying yes to everything also resonates in that it's yes, whatever comes up next is like, yes, you're going to deal with it one way or another. The thing is in your lap.
Yeah. And oh my God, my brain just bleeped out. Who's the 70s singer-songwriter guy, he died a few years ago. He was kind of curmudgeonly, like a Texan, like all those Texan guys. Guy, fucking, oh my God. I can't remember his name. But I was asked recently, there's a series of shows around the country to celebrate this man because of his profound talents. And the last show was going to be like at the Grand Ole Opry or something. And he's like one of those people that everybody is supposed to know, and I knew who he was, but I had never bothered to listen to his music. And then I listened to the music and I was like, I don't think I really like this that much, but I'm going to see if I can figure out how to make it work for me and do these two songs. And it was really kind of fun. I came away just with the sense of, you can break through shit. And that's always good for me, is to discover, I can break through that and get somewhere to the other side where it worked for me. I had to do that recently for a Sinead O'Connor show that was here. It was a book release, and all these women were doing these Sinead O'Connor songs. And I'm like, well, that's not my thing. That's crazy. And so I did Black Boys on Moped, and I figured out how to make it work for me in a way that felt comfortable and great, and I loved doing it. It was so great. And just I like those challenges, and I don't think those are challenges I would have done in my earlier years. I think I would have either been dismissive of them in a sort of an arrogant kind of way, or I would have and that would probably have been a cover for my insecurity about doing it. But now I'm gonna do it. And even though the performance and being in a band and making that is not like my most important thing in my life. It is something that I work really hard on when the time comes for me to have to do that. But I'm not like, the kind of writer that sits around and is just writing and playing all the time. I can go for long periods of time. My guitar is just sitting over here in the kitchen right by the dog food bowl. I do try to pick it up and play, but it's not like it's an extension of me or anything,
Do you consider your songs kind of like precious things? How do you feel when people cover you and it's different than like how you wrote it?
I don't think it's happened that. I don't think I've had the luxury of having it happen that much that I would.
that one time, how did it feel?
That one time. I was listening to an interview with Cinda Williams and Car Wheels on a Gravel Road or something that they played right after hers. And it was, or Passionate Kisses. Passionate Kisses is what it was. And I can see why that would be the radio friendly version, the cover of it, because it was super poppy. But, Lucinda's was by far the better version of it, the sort of deeper version of it.
Yeah.
So, I think I'd be happy if people want to cover them. It would be funny to me in a way. It would be kind of funny, but
you don't have this sense of proprietorship. Like you got it perfect the first time. And
oh God, no! I've never gotten anything perfect ever. The first or the last time I did it, never.
Yeah.
No. I had this young man come up to me after a Freakwater show, and it was this song Jesus Year, which is I wrote when I was 33, and it was about just being just like fucking up a whole lot. But this it, the song has some things that I with age, with perspective, I don't agree with so much anymore.
Hmm.
But it was sort of like just I'm just trying to do the best that I can. And this young man came up to me after a show. He followed us to a few shows over a couple years, and he came up last time I saw him, and he said, "I played this song for my parents, and then I told them I was transitioning, or and I like, wow, that's like it struck me as such an odd song to play to your parents in that moment, and like how that what that song meant to him in a different way than it meant to me when I wrote it. But
Hmm.
that was like I was so that was like a really that was I felt incredibly honored, and like
Sure.
that was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. I was just reminded how we played a Freakwater show, and the opening band played all Freakwater
Oh,
songs.
yeah, that's right. Were they was
It
that
was it was in
Bitchwater? No.
Scandinavia, or one of the Nordic countries.
It's funny. I forgot all about that.
I remember it was funny to me, but I wasn't fronting the band, and they're not my songs. So like, how did that make you feel? Because it seemed like, oh, what an homage. But on the other hand, we also were playing a lot of those songs.
Pretty bold move for an opening band to do that. But I I think we thought it was funny. I don't remember getting,
Yeah.
did we get mad? I don't remember.
No,
No,
no.
I don't think so. I
I,
think we thought it was funny.
well, now what are we supposed to play? They were like, you
Yeah.
just, and they did
Yeah,
a
there
pretty
was a
good
little bit
job
of that.
too.
Like,
Like,
it
what
was,
if we don't do it as well as they did?
well, I think by the second song we realized we were going to do it better than they were, I think,
We're
probably.
fine. We're fine.
We're fine. We're fine. They couldn't fuck up the way we fuck up.
It's
You know,
perfect. Yeah, we're
we
still
fuck up
still
perfectly.
I'm still waiting for that comedy album. The reason I asked about the covering your songs thing is Brett Sparks said something about when Andrew Bird covered, they did like an entire album of Handsome Family
Uh,
songs, and
yeah.
I thought, if it was me, I'd be ecstatic because I wouldn't care who did it. He's like, yeah, kind of weird. Someone else is like their takes on your songs in that, and it's like it was just weird. It was neither negative or positive. It's just like, this is odd.
Well, I can see why it can be irritating. This when I've covered songs of like not of my friends so much, but of like famous people, I I if I don't like the way that they've decided the break is going to be, they've put it on a chorus instead of a verse or something like I don't like that. I'm just changing it.
Oh yeah.
So I just change it. And I can see that that would possibly irritate somebody because it would imply that you think you can write the song better, you know?
I think that couldn't be farther from the truth, though. I think it might bruise an ego, but it's for the sake of just as a love of the game. It's like, let's hear a different version
Yeah,
of the song I like, and
yeah,
like, even if
yeah,
it's not my cup of tea, I'm going to enjoy listening to it a little bit. And plus,
yeah.
bonus, you get a new version of a song you love. So it's like, I don't see a,
That's
a,
right.
a
Yeah.
downside in that
No,
at
no,
all.
it's all living. It's what, it's a living thing. That's the music is, I suppose painters can copy other paintings. Filmmakers can make other, their versions of a film. That's been made so many times. Writers don't really get to, they can rewrite, but they have to really rewrite, or you're in
Hmm.
trouble. You're
Yeah,
not allowed to just like, I'm just going to rewrite chapter five and make, chapter five a little different,
that's
keep the
interesting.
rest of the book the exact same. Uh,
Yeah, I wonder if it's closer to what the fashion industry does, to where they're reinventing. But the idea of like copyright infringement doesn't really exist in that world, to where it's like taking other people's stuff and kind of
no,
turning it into something else, unless it's like
no,
sampling.
no, no. And
It's
music's is very flexible. It all depends on. uh, like one or two note shifts or how long you use a sample or something, uh, it seems very arbitrary where they set the lines.
Well, it's just business. That's just what
It's
what
just business.
someone in an office said. That's about enough of
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
There's not a whole lot of Paul's boutiques in the world anymore.
No.
Make an entire record like that.
I was listening to somebody break down a Beck song last night where all the samples that he used, and it was like, holy shit! It's just it's all samples, and then Beck just creatively putting them together, and it was just so fascinating. Like, oh wow, that's that Purdy drum part, or oh that's from that what's that record, and then just like it was really fascinating to me.
However, someone
Mm-mm.
can make music, especially if it's coming from not have being able to get your hands on adequate instruments, but you have a record player, and a tape
Yeah, that's
recorder.
true.
I make music out of this, or like a cell phone.
Right,
Some pretty
right.
interesting stuff. The mother of invention and all. Um,
Yeah. How do you find yourself uh, handling the challenges of leaving your home to play a show?
um, it depends on the show. Our friend David Wayne Gay always had the rules of what gigs he would take as money, networking, or fun. So it had to be two of those three. I've the romance of
Let's
just
see.
going out to tour for touring's sake isn't there. As far as just like
Right.
staying on couches and stuff, that ship has sailed. And especially with
Yeah.
having a son, it's like I've got plenty here, but it is interesting what you were saying about Matt. Um, a lot of the
He's standing
importance
in
for
there.
Yo, Morgan, what's cracking?
He just walked in the room.
speak of the devil. Hi, Matt. How you doing? Give me a call.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
that
so
well,
touring.
that idea of importance and not necessarily prioritizing, but like having Leon had a lot to do with it, and then a slow evolution to where music caused me a great deal of stress for a long time on
Yeah.
because when you put all your eggs in one basket, it has to work because you don't have a plan
Right.
B. But I think there is a way to kind of have it all um, by saying yes to a lot of things, opening up your mind, not being so precious, while at the same time keeping your knowing where the lighthouse is all the time, and just kind of learning to sail. To quote 38 Special, hold on loosely.
I have I'm in a lucky position because, my when Rick and I split up, I was alone for a while, and that was hard because, I had to take a job, serious job, while I was trying to also, and it was like during the biggest records of my career, and sort of simultaneously having to figure all that out. But
Wow.
ever since when I remarried. I didn't have to worry so much about that aspect of it. Like, I had gone into bankruptcy prior. I mean, I declared bankruptcy. I had to deal with all that. And then that was really stressful. Like, what am I doing? I can't commit fully to this job at a law firm because I'm going off and touring, and I can't fully commit to, I have to cancel this tour because I have to do this. And so you're in this sort of really, really fucking miserable spot.
Mhm.
And so it is hard. The plan B is hard to do. And but then when I married Mike, it wasn't like I had to be a big breadwinner or anything. So it became just purely much more joyful. So that's just pure luck, really. Um, and now I substitute teach, and so I can do it when I want to. So it's all
Right.
right. But it's a beautiful thing. It's always, it's like music. It's like tennis to me. You can play the game for as long as you live. You just swing a little more slowly, but you just aim. You got better aim at this point. Play the game a little differently.
And the idea of success also, that it's not a finish line
Oh,
kind of a thing
completely.
that
Yeah.
like when you're in, that it's, in a lot of ways, I can't remember. I was watching the documentary on Tyra Banks and America's Top Model on Netflix,
Oh yeah, I
and
wanted to
and
watch
it,
that.
and
Have
it,
fun?
oh man, oh yeah,
Trashy?
that's a fun watch. It is tough, but I remember thinking like they come away feeling like losers. I'm just like, you won by being there. You're there.
Right,
So if you
right.
like in context, everything else is kind of gravy. And it kind of reminded me, it's like, yeah, I think I won a long time ago, a time ago, and everything else is just different
Right, you did.
levels
You did.
of ambition, and there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. It's like, you want to do that, go for it, but know that you're good.
yeah. I mean, I think after when we left Atlantic and that sort of chasing this thing, the last record we made there, Rick was really trying to figure out how do you crack the code? How do you make a hit record? How do you do that? And we didn't have the right numbers to crack the code, and we made another record like we made. And then after that, it was just, we just kept going and we kept going, and it really had nothing to do with having those goals. I think sometimes people do reach stardom because they have very defined goals, and that's what they're gonna work until they get there. But I don't think that was really ever uh, ever in the like. It was never there with Freakwater or 11th Dream Day. I think the goal was always just to sing together, to play together, to sometimes play in front of people and have it be fun, to answer questions about things that you want to try to get across about a song or an experience or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was like the most exciting. That was like, oh, that's all you need is just people to ask you questions and want to hear you, and even if it's a crowd of 150, it was all good. It was all good, and it remains that way to me. We have people that just for both bands, people that have been loyal to each of those projects and have come out to see us for decades, and it's a sweet thing. It's a lucky thing. So that is definitely success in my book. It's total success.
Yeah.
And I never had to feel like I compromised anything really. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I don't know
Yeah.
if people that are compromising feel that they're compromising in the moment, but I still love everything I've done, you know.
Yeah, you can look back on it and be just like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
at the very worst, different time, but I stand
yeah,
behind it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say, oh, I sing better now, or oh,
Hmm.
I can write a better song now, or something like that. But still, I'm just like, wow, that's pretty good. That's not so bad. I like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it seems like you're someone who has kind of trusted their compass, their kind of internal compass about which where is the horizon.
Thanks.
That you're not going to be pushed off course too much. You might see which trail might go one way or the other, but you always kind of have a center of gravity. It seemed to me
Well,
anyway.
thanks. Yeah, I think I had some skepticism when I was younger that probably kept me from falling too far off my center of gravity. I was sort of skeptical about a lot of what was going on around me. It's like, no, 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 no. So maybe skepticism kept me
I,
focused.
I believe it. Yeah, you don't suffer fools. I think that helps. I think if you can kind of that tightrope between having that kind of being a little cynical and sarcastic and skeptical, kind of a street smarts thing, with also staying kind of positive about the world and people in general. And
I
um,
don't carry the weight of things really. I'm not a grudge holder. I don't have that kind of willpower to do that. Things,
that's a
I
good.
know people, musician friends that are still holding massive grudges for something that happened musically 30 years ago that they feel changed the trajectory and put them in this place that they don't want to be in. And
Mhm.
I just like when the whole thing with Freakwater and went south with Steve Earle in a very spectacular, amusing way, that was just like, wow, he dodged a bullet. It's all fine. It's good. We can just sort of laugh it off. Shit, if we only had done blah blah blah, then we could have maybe had been this. I sort of understand where I exist in the world, and it's not in that larger sphere, and I don't want to be there. I like the sphere in which I exist.
Yeah, and were you cognizant of that at the time? Are you comfortable telling that story?
Well, Steve Earle, I guess he'd seen us or he'd heard us or something, and he was creating a vanity label at the time, and he was interested. I think the Old 97s were another band that he was interested in, but he was courting us in a rather odd way. He rented us a Lexus to drive down to Nashville from Louisville, and he flew us to New York, and but it was always kind of weird. He was always sort of walking 5 steps in front of us in his moccasins, and I don't know, there was just something about him that seemed like I didn't trust entirely.
Hmm.
But the idea of like making having some money and being able to tour in an easier way than in a hearse, was sort of compelling. So we played some shows for him, and then he offered us a deal, and it was not a very good deal, and we had a lawyer look at it, and I think, and it may have been standard for people, but I think there was like a clause where he got to suggest covers that we would do, and not just suggest them, but kind of have the final say on if we were going to do them or not. Like he could say, "This, I want you to do these songs. We're going to try
Okay.
these." And the back and forth was like, this is just so standard. We may never, this is never going to come to pass. Blah blah blah. It's like I don't care. I don't want that in anything. And Catherine didn't either. And so we're like, no, we're not going to do that. And it just kept on unraveling. And we're like, no, we don't. That's not. We don't want that. Or we want 3 records guaranteed. You can't force us to have the right of first right of refusal for like 8 records. We're not going to do that. And there was just a lot of different things in there. I can't remember what they were, but we
Hmm.
just didn't feel comfortable. And we were interviewed for The Reader, which is a local newspaper here, weekly newspaper. And there had been another band, Dolly Varden, that Dave had been a
Oh yeah.
part point, but they were also being courted by a major label that went south. And a local writer, Peter Mazak, I think it was, wanted to do a piece on why do these, there are all these bands that are getting signed. Why do some of these deals not work out for some people? And so he interviewed us. And in our Freakwater way, we're smart alecky, and there's we'll just say shit that probably we shouldn't. But I think we said Catherine said something along the lines of we were willing to sell our soul, but he just didn't give us enough money for it or something. It was something like that. And then he came out with his legion of fans, and I think this is around the time of like that P2, which was some sort of like online like chat room for people like no depression or something, kind of thing. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and all these people like Freakwater, people weren't even spelling Freakwater. They had to use like asterisks and symbols because Freakwater was like a dirty word or something. Like, we had come up against the king, and it was horrible. And he started putting out fake shit like we each wanted our own tour bus, or like there was all this crazy shit that we were hearing that he was insinuating that we wanted,
Really?
which was not. I think
Yeah.
we even discussed tour buses. And then he came to town. Like he came to town, unfortunately, like the day that article came out in the weekly paper here, and so he
Oh,
read it, of course, and he like got on stage and he said, "Those Freakwater girls can kiss my ass," and whatever.
oh no.
And I mean, to me, that was just super funny. It was
Sure.
funny. It was like this big guy was just like he couldn't handle this shit. Like he couldn't handle it. He like kissed my ass, and I didn't see him for a long time. And then we were playing a festival in Canada, and uh, we got on the artist bus, and I didn't even realize it was him. It just didn't look like him. And he said something, and I made some sort of weird comment. I said, "Oh, yes, isn't it grand?" And it was like a really odd thing to say. I don't know why it came out of my mouth. It was referencing something. And that was Steve. I was like, "Oh, what the fuck? That was no idea." I'm sort of proud of it in a way. I mean, I'm sure Steve is a lovely person. To have dinner with and to sit around. And I mean, I didn't want to, I felt he clung to his stories a little too much, and I didn't care about him. I didn't care.
What do you mean by that?
Like
About
not being in prison or whatever. Like he was all this big myths that, that he was sort of talking about. And he just didn't seem like he was trying to connect with us in a real way. And then he went really quickly into wanting to fire the band. He wanted to get rid of all the band. Yeah. And we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, you got to get rid of the band. We're gonna have Nashville guys. This is how it works. And we're like, they're our band. Is our band. And it was kind of funny because at the time we had Bob was our pedal steel player, and we had just finished touring with Wilco and Bob Egan, and we were like, no, we need, Bob and Dave are our band. That's not, you can't do that. And that's just not what's right for us. And then, we went to bat for that. Not that that was, the only issue, but right after that, Bob left us anyway to go to Wilco. And then we took Max from Wilco, and he came to us. So,
well, there you go.
There you go.
You've never looked back on that. I mean, other than, oh, there's a parallel universe somewhere where you're treated like Trisha Yearwood or something. It's like, yeah, screw those guys. You tell us what to do.
No, that is not. I suppose if I do have a gravity, it's that kind of thing. I don't.
Stardom?
I don't think stardom would be very good for me anyway. I don't think it would be a healthy thing for me.
Why not?
So, it just seems like you can't exist in the real world, and I just love the real world. I just,
That's a great answer. Yeah.
If you've had the success and then you're just falling, it's worse than just like kind of trundling along at this point.
Right.
That
Just behind
it's
the
all
scenes.
Fun. It's not a problem. You feel like you're a success, in your small little world, and it's all good.
I think cult status is where it's at.
Cult status.
You cannot go wrong. Who would that be? Leon Russell, maybe. But he was a big star.
Cool. He got mega famous. He had way too much money, and it screwed him up.
You could tailor songs to what you think people want to hear, and that would be a trap to fall into. It's just like writing Freakwater music. If it didn't come naturally, it would be tough.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is on Scheherazade, what the people want is called that because she thought that was, Catherine said she studied what it is that people want, and she tried to make a song. But we were singing about a rape, like serial rapes in India, or serials wherever they occur, so that's probably not part of the model. Like even when we try, we can't really go all the way. She's a gifted songwriter, that's for sure.
She is.
No, I'm just pissed off because I can't think of the guy fucking Guy Clark. Just came to me. Guy Clark.
God damn it.
That was embarrassing.
Oh, that's a good place to end it. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. It's really, really fun to talk with you again.
Always.
That was Janet Bean. You can find 11th Dream Day records on, they were on Amoeba, Atlantic, Thrill Jockey. You can find them pretty much anywhere. Freakwater, you can find on Thrill Jockey and Bloodshot. Horse's Haw, the records she did with Jim Elkington, is on Fluff and Gravy Records, and also the Freakons record is on Fluff and Gravy. If you're listening on YouTube, you might have noticed anything on the screen. I figured I'd put a little extra into that, and that we might do more video episodes, more elaborate ones in the future. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. So that was one more under our belts. Thanks for being here. Support for this podcast comes from you, the listener, through my Patreon page, patreon.com/drunkenprayer. My name is Morgan Gear, and I'm a musician. I'm minored in philosophy. Take a look at yourself in the mirror and stop crying now. Take a look at yourself in the mirror and stop crying now. Support the artists that you love, directly if and when you can. Thanks again for listening.
Guy Clark, yeah. I don't really like it.
I'm Carl Castle, and this is The House of Morgan.